My name is Josh Kwaning. Coming up this morning, Bank of Ghana targets cross-border trade with ECD digital currency project. Moves beyond pilot stage. We will hear from Governor Dr. Johnson Isiama.
The ECD, Ghana Central Bank Digital Currency, has completed its pilot phase, and we are now actively designing its use.
And government eyes third straight treasury bill over subscription with 4.486 billion cedis auction following 7-week cash squeeze. And economist Professor Godfred Buckman warns Ghana could return to the IMF by 2033 without structural economic reforms.
The first major economic decision Ghana took right after the overthrow of Dr. Kwaning was to surrender our birthright to the IMF. And since then, we have been regular and predictable.
We'll bring you details of our headlines and other stories shortly. Stay with us. And this is the business news on Cyrus on 3FM 92.7. And now the Bank of Ghana says it is advancing plans to deploy the ECD for cross-border settlement and wholesale payments following the successful completion of the digital currencies pilot phase. Governor of the Central Bank, Dr. Johnson Pandit Isiama, says the next phase of the project is expected to support faster international transactions, deepen digital finance, and strengthen the regional trade integration. There's more in the following news desk report.
The ECD project has now completed its design pilot testing stages, with the central bank shifting focus toward how the digital sovereign currency can now be integrated into Ghana's evolving financial market ecosystem. Speaking at the opening of the 64th ACI World Congress in Accra, Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Isiama, said financial markets across emerging economies are becoming increasingly digital, interconnected, and innovation-driven.
The ECD, Ghana Central Bank Digital Currency, has completed its pilot phase, and we are now actively designing its use for cross-border settlement and wholesale payments. The strategic question is therefore no longer whether to build digital sovereign infrastructure. The strategic question now, here and elsewhere, is what economic activity we choose to enable once we have it.
Meanwhile, President of ACI Ghana, Lawrence Osilaja Bwampong, says the Congress seeks to deepen international partnerships and attract investor interest into Ghana and the wider African market.
Africa's financial market story continues to evolve rapidly, driven by innovation, reform, resilience, and ambition. Now, this Congress therefore provides more than just a platform for discussion. It provides an opportunity to connect, to collaborate, to challenge ideas, to build partnerships, and ultimately to shape the future together.
The two-day ACI World Congress, being held under the theme Elevating Markets, Empowering People, brought together financial market professionals, policymakers, and industry leaders from more than 60 countries, with Ghana hosting the event for the first time in 17 years and only the second time on the African continent.
And now government is set to return to the domestic money market today with an ambitious target to borrow 4.486 billion cedis through its weekly treasury bills auction. The upcoming issue will span the standard short-term spectrum, offering the 91-day, 182-day, and 364-day tenors to institutional and retail investors. The following three business news desk report as well.
This week's auction carries significant weight for the Ministry of Finance and the Bank of Ghana. The state is actively seeking its third consecutive oversubscription, an outcome that would signal a clear stabilization in domestic investor confidence. Government is looking to borrow 4.486 billion cedis. A successful outing on Friday would firmly cement a recovery for the Treasury, which recently emerged from a punishing 7-week streak of undersubscriptions. During that dry spell, market appetite repeatedly fell short of government short-term financing targets, forcing fiscal managers to navigate a tight liquidity squeeze and confront mounting pressures on state expenditure. 3 Business attributes the previous dry run to a combination of tight market liquidity and investors temporarily shifting their portfolios toward higher-yielding capital market alternatives. However, the tide has turned over the last fortnight. The recent rebound in subscription rates suggests that primary dealers are warming back up to short-term government paper, lured by stabilized yields and regular rollover demands. The cash raised from this auction will be heavily utilized to refinance maturing short-term obligations and buffer the state's immediate operational expenditures. Market observers will be closely watching the final yields to see if government can maintain its borrowing momentum without being forced to push interest rates higher.
That was a 3 Business News Desk report on government eyeing third straight treasury bill oversubscription, with 4.48 billion cedis auction following 7-week cash squeeze. And in more news this morning, economist and professor of finance at the University of Ghana, Professor Godfred Bokpin, is warning that Ghana could be forced into another program with the International Monetary Fund by 2033 if the country fails to tackle long-standing structural weaknesses in the economy. He was speaking at the 2026 Access Pension Trust Pension Strategy Conference in Accra. There's more in the following report.
Professor Godfred Bokpin says Ghana's economic history shows a repeated cycle of fiscal slippages, rising debt levels, and balance of payment difficulties that often end with support from the IMF. According to him, unless governments implement bold structural reforms that promote productivity, fiscal discipline, and export competitiveness, the country could once again find itself seeking external financial assistance within the next decade.
The first major economic decision Ghana took right after the overthrow of Dr. Kwaning was to surrender our birthright to the IMF. And since then, we have been regular and predictable. If you get to know, the fund also, they do the analysis. They know when we should be arriving. You know, sometimes when you know your problem and you see the symptoms coming, it's better you run to the doctor early.
Meanwhile, Chief Executive Officer of Access Pension Trust, Ifriye Owari, is advocating targeted policy interventions to encourage pension participation among informal sector workers.
Government was supposed to set up retirement benefit bond to absorb the past credits, which means that the liability for paying the pension that had been accrued to the lump sum was not supposed to be on SNEC. It was supposed to be on the sponsor of the scheme. That wasn't done. So we are suggesting that government should take up that liability.
Special advisor on the 24-hour economy initiative, Gusi Tano, underscored the importance of the government's much-touted policy.
The centerpiece is a strategic 24-hour investment fund. It's being designed as a fund of funds. For example, the fund will not invest directly into commercial enterprises. Instead, it will do so through an array of underlying special purpose vehicles, each focused on a specific sector or asset class.
Before we delve into the forest and commodities market, the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry is urging businesses in the country to make a conscious effort to integrate artificial intelligence AI into the operations or risk becoming obsolete as the technology, it says, is set to dominate Ghana's economy in the near future. Speaking at the Chamber's Business Awards launch, Chief Executive Officer of the Chamber, Mark Bedu-Abuaji, stressed that AI must be adopted as it would help enhance efficiency and reduce the cost of operations.
AI is very relevant. That is the average Ghanaian business. Probably is now catching up with us. But with certain sectors like the financial sector and the insurance sector, AI is driving those sectors. And I'm sure that within the shortest possible time, all the manufacturing sector, the agri sector is going to be driven by AI. So AI is the tool for development now. For manufacturing sector, it's being turned around a lot of key activities. So for businesses, as I said, we are encouraging them to adopt AI because in the next 2, 3, 4 years, AI will drive the economy. So the earlier you adopt AI, the better it will be for you. It will help you reduce your cost of production. It will help you to also increase your profitability. and the economy will benefit and all of us will benefit. So AI is the key now, is the way now.
You had the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And that takes us to the forest and commodities market. Let's look at how the cedi is faring against other major trading currencies and how some key commodities are also faring on the global market.
On the interbank foreign exchange market, the dollar is selling at 11 cedis, 56 pesos. It gained 4 pesos. The British pound is selling at 15 cedis, 54 pesos. It gained 10 pesos. The euro is selling at 13 cedis, 43 pesos. It also gained 6 pesos. However, be guided that these figures could be higher at a forex bureau near you. On the global commodities market, Brent crude is trading at $104.68 per barrel. Gold is trading at $4,541.13 per ounce, up by $58.52. Cocoa is trading at $3,889 per ton, down by $18.
That was an update from the forest and commodity markets, and that's how we end the business news. For more news updates, just log on to our website, it's twenews.com. And also join the business team at 7 on News 360. It's always a pleasure coming your way in a world where you can be anything. Just be kind. It costs nothing to be kind. Enjoy morning.